We've got time for a documentary as well.
Yes, very, very quickly. Let's talk about Maidan, which is a new film by Sergei Loznitsa, who's a Ukrainian filmmaker who... he started out by making documentaries. He made a couple of feature films, one called My Joy and one called In the Fog, both of which are terrific. In the Fog is just
The
tremendous.
Fog.
No, not The Fog.
Oh, right, you said just
In the Fog. In the Fog. It's a very kind of... How would you describe the film? It's very Ukrainian. I think it's very, very kind of down. Anyway, we can talk about In the Fog another time. Maidan is a documentary that was shot during the uprising and the rioting in Kiev a couple of years ago. Basically, Loznitsa and his camera crew went and set up shop in the middle of the Maidan Square, and they plonk the camera down and they find a beautiful image and they let the camera run for 3, 4, 5 minutes perhaps, and then they cut to the next image. And out of this, just still shots, the camera moves only once in the film towards the end, and we'll come back to the reason for that in a second. But it's still images. It's like being at an art gallery and you're being asked to consider these wide master shots of what's actually going on in the square. And what you experience through this is the way in which a revolution can happen, the way in which an uprising is triggered. It starts out as this kind of festive, slightly community feel, big pots of soup being stirred, stew being ladled out to people there, community songs, people gathered round, optimism, yes, we're fighting for something worthwhile. And then, of course, the forces of, peacekeeping kind of descend on the place. And over the course of the film, it becomes this kind of storm of like flames and water and rubble being thrown around the place, and it is terrifying. The sheer bravery of having been in the middle of this intensely traumatic experience. You remember the news photos after this uprising, and the square was like, it was like blasted. It was like the Transformers had been there. It was like something out of a film. It was the only way to relate to carnage on this scale. It's the kind of the thing you see in the cinema. And when you see it in the cinema as documentary footage, it is tremendously powerful. And it's not just powerful as a piece of reporting, but it's powerful as a piece of art as well. This is a film that will endure and will last when this is, less topical than it is necessarily now. It's a big investment of your time. I think it's over 2 hours, and you have to be prepared to kind of sit there and go with it. But I would recommend anyone who is kind of remotely interested in this to check it out. And please, please, please also check out In the Fog, which is a wonderful, wonderful kind of incredibly downbeat and grim and juicy and an all-enveloping kind of adaptation of a wartime novel. If you want to get into a filmmaker that you don't have any experience of before, Sergei Loznitsa is one to check out.